Welcome back, sporting fans, to another spectacular episode of the Paint the Wall podcast. I, as always, am your host, Steve, and I know I said last episode that I was going to do it every other week. Well, I lied. I'm here this week, and we're ready to go. I couldn't skip an episode after my favorite player retires and we get a win. I can't do that. But before we jump all into that, we have a co-host for this episode. I'm going to bring him in now. He is the secretary and social media chair for the South Stand Supporters Club, as well as the president and founder of the Front Ridge Sporting Supporters Club here in Colorado, Mr. Ryan Niziolek. Ryan, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me, Steve.
Of course. I thought it would be fun to get somebody else's perspective. You and I have been talking back and forth for like a year now about getting you on the pod, and haven't been able to make it happen, but here we are finally making it happen. So I appreciate you taking some time out to join me.
I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. Well, let's jump right into it. We'll start with our win, I think. We'll start with our big win over our rival St. Louis, and then we'll dive into some other news that has happened and some other stuff. But first and foremost, we beat St. Louis in our rivalry game 2-0. To me, I don't really think the team looked all that different. The lineup looked a little bit different, but play style to me seemed the same. We just happened to win this one, which I will take. Dejan Joveljic with both goals. What are they calling him now? Jokervic?
Jokervic.
Yeah, Jokervic, because of his celebration, which I love. I'm all for it. It's going to lead to some awesome tifos and stuff.
Absolutely.
He gets both goals. Nothing for St. Louis. A whole bunch of shots. Same amount of shot attempts. They only had 4 on goal. Let's see. They had 5 saves to our 4. However, we get the win, and that is what matters. So, Ryan, what were your thoughts on the game?
The biggest thing is creativity and actually making use of space. That everyone so far this season seems like there's the ball, 5 people within 2-3 yards. And we're actually making space, getting into space. That's the biggest thing that I saw from our guys against St. Louis.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. It did seem it was a different player-wise different lineup. It was the same formation, of course. We still ran the 4-3-3. I don't anticipate ever not running that unless we do that 4-2-3-1 or whatever it was we were doing for a while there. But we did have a couple different. Jansen Miller getting a start, Kyrie on right back, and then Nemanja Radoja getting a sub in at right back, which I thought was unexpected, but he looked fine. So why not? Bartlett with the start, Jake Davis back in the midfield, always good. We finally saw Mason Toye as a sub up front after Joveljic scored twice, of course, and Tommy off the bench. But other than that, kind of a weird lineup player-wise, personnel-wise, but play style seemed the same. I didn't personally notice any different tactics from what we normally see. I don't know if you did, but I didn't.
No, tactic-wise, I think I saw the same thing. Playing from the back, but it was a better use of space, not clogging up passing lanes that we've seen so far this season, at least to me. That was the big part of it, not clogging up passing lanes and actually, getting wide, passing the ball. The biggest issue that I've seen so far, and it kind of played a little bit here and there when St. Louis had their attacking possibilities, is passing. Hard touches on the ball, bad passing, and just, hopeful passing into space where no one's going. But that might take time to get into a new rhythm, especially with the new coach, new rhythm of play.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the new coach. This, of course, being Zavagnan's first game in charge. Well, not first game. He's been in charge before, from Peter's absences. But first game as the interim head coach, not just a fill-in. Do you think there was really any difference that could be noticed from coaching, or do you think the players just played better?
I think the players played better because new head coach, less / more pressure, all, kind of both sides of the field, or in the locker room, where I have a new head coach. I need to prove my spot. I need to prove my play, rather than I'm just a shoo-in because I'm getting paid money. to me, the last couple of years, there's a lot of people that have gotten field time. They've gotten minutes because they're getting paid. So whether, kind of segue into some other topics that might come up, the front office saying we're paying this much for XYZ player and you better put him on the field. Interim coach, kind of a new setup and new era. And maybe there's less of that and people needing to prove themselves on the field with their play. And yeah.
Yeah. All right. I have been, anybody who listens to this podcast knows that I have been considerably less Vermes out than most other people. I've been a lot more lenient on things, right down including to last week's episode when they did let him go. And I still was like, we'll see if anything changes. I believe I even said, but since Vermes is out now, we shouldn't lose the rest of the season because that was the problem. So it figures our first game without Vermes, we go out and win. Now maybe I'm just trying to save face here, but what I watched with this game was players playing better. Can I necessarily say that has anything to do with a new coach? I have no idea. I don't know that I can necessarily say that after one game. Now, if we go out on Saturday and do it again, then that's definitely going to lean me towards, okay, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe there is something to this. But, I guess I would submit that I think that this next game will be more telling towards, is the coach making an impact than this first game? Because like you said, there was a lot more pressure on that. There was already a lot of pressure going on. We haven't won a game in like 200 days. 200 calendar days or something like that. So there's already a lot of pressure. They were already feeling it from the fans. There was a letter sent from the fans that I'm sure the players see, which we'll talk about here in a minute.
Yeah.
But there's these kind of things the players see. So I think they feel the pressure and they go out and they perform. But I think if we do this kind of better performance with a different lineup twice in a row, then all right, I'll step back and go, okay, maybe some change from Vermes was needed.
And to start the change against St. Louis.
No, nothing better, man. There's nothing better than beating St. Louis, beating our little brother and make sure they realize they remember where they belong, down below.
Yeah, exactly.
Feel free to come at me in the comments, any St. Louis people listening to this, because I will respond with, you're listening. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
I'm curious about your thoughts on Jacob Bartlett in particular. This season, because we haven't seen him for the last couple games. Now we see him again on Saturday, and I thought he looked great. But I'm curious what you think about Bartlett in particular.
I so far, call it preseason, CONCACAF, everything else. I'm actually really liking the kid. I like his tenacity. Obviously, being that young, there's a lot of growth that he needs. Mm-hmm. But especially when you talk about salary cap stuff and whatnot. Radoja, don't hate him, but I don't like him.
Okay, fair enough.
Personally, I think he's there's too much senior team in him. Okay. He's a little tactically reckless, where Bartlett is a little more tactically sound. He's a little more textbook and less reckless. But in general, Bartlett, love him. Same thing, Jansen Miller so far. I mean, just coming out of the draft, I think he is doing really, really well. And I do like the fact that we have a lot of young guys that might need some time to really develop their skills. Again, look at Volater. First couple seasons looked, reckless and disconjointed, but he's come together in a short amount of time. And that's the nice thing about younger players. They can come together in a very short amount of time. And I see that in Bartlett and Miller.
Yeah. That's interesting what you say about Radoja. I don't know that I've heard that opinion before, but now that you say it, it kind of makes sense. I'm curious, would you have preferred that they have kept Remy Voltaire?
Oh, absolutely. I love Remy. I would, yes, he's a more natural 8. But he did really well last year at the 6 when it was needed, when Radoja was out on injury. I would have rather have seen Remy because the difference in depth that he plays. He can play the 8. If need be, he can play the 10. He played the 6 a bunch. Radoya is a natural 6, absolutely. But that's kind of all. He's a one-card player.
Yeah, I guess not. He played right back this week.
Oh, yeah. Well, for what, 15 minutes? I mean,
yeah, true. But I was also curious why, I had said at the end of last season in one of our last podcasts that if they were going to get rid of one, I would prefer that they get rid of Radoya versus Voltaire.
Yeah.
They ended up getting rid of Voltaire. And I was like, I know one of them has to go. If I really think about it, I don't think I really care either way. I guess honestly, we could get rid of both of them if we sign another one. We ended up keeping Radoya. I do wonder if it's because he apparently has some ability to play right back that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
And that's just some of that insider knowledge that we don't get to be privy to. That we can speculate all we want, but who knows? I don't know. Maybe we'll see more from him. I don't hate Kyrie at right back. Our whole podcast has been very critical of Kyrie and his play.
I've been not anti-Kyrie, but not a huge fan of Kyrie. But sure. I like him better at right back than center forward or right wing.
Yeah,
it's weird to say that an attacking player is doing better at right back, but
yeah, it is.
It almost feels like he is more comfortable at right back compared to in that forward position.
Yeah. Plus, the more he plays at it, the more comfortable it looks like he's getting. He's big, he's fast, so that helps for a right back type position. Plus, it allows Jake to be moved to midfield, his natural position, which I think he's, I guess, better at. I've said this on other podcasts before. I don't know that I would say better at. He is, but he's great at right back. I don't care where he plays; just put the kid on the field. But
yeah, same. But the big thing with Jake is that tenacity, that bulldog Roger mentality. Mm-hmm. I love that about Jake Davis.
I do too.
But I will say, when Jake Davis is playing right back, so far this season, him and Shappy's ability to almost switch roles, is awesome. Like it started out beginning of the season, and they continue it every game. Where if Jake is in a better place, in a better position on the field, and he takes that right wing, then he takes that right wing and Shappy drops back instantly, which I've especially against St. Louis, I saw that multiple times, and it works so well. It creates so much more space.
Yeah. But to build off of that, I mean, if Kyrie is the replacement at right back, I know you said you don't prefer him at right wing. I agree. But I mean, if we're only talking for 4 or 5 minutes, just because he pushed up and now Shappy has to fall back, we're not talking as a permanent position. He can hold his own. He is a right wing by trade.
Yes.
So I don't mind that either. And that now we put Jake Davis on that right side in a midfield. So our entire right side is all capable of playing any of those 3 positions.
Exactly.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous.
And when they were all 3 on the field, they did do that a couple times, especially Kyrie got up in that very right corner, was able to actually play. Everyone else dropped back. Jake Davis, dropped back into a right back position with, Shappy dropping back into the 8. It works really well on that right side right now.
Yep. Plus, on corner kicks or free kicks, you can have Kyrie with his height can be in the box, and now Jake can play back, which we've seen. Jake has scored some banger goals from outside the box.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd rather him be out there anyway to get, maybe a bad clearance. Now he can get his foot on it.
100% agree.
Same with Shappy. Frankly, we've seen him with a few shots from outside the box, and he's clearly got a good foot. So both of them outside the box. Now Kyrie can push in. That dynamic, if we keep running with it, I think is going to be great, personally.
And we haven't had a real good right side of the field for a couple years. We've had a couple players here and there. That left side has been the strong SKC side, where I think this right side is going to be dangerous this year once some fluidity comes into play.
Yeah, we do need some fluidity, and we need to not have – what do we have, like 30 different lineups last year in like 32 games? We had like 30 lineups or something crazy like that.
I don't think that we have had the same lineup since that last win in September last year.
Yeah, that sounds right. I could see a world where that's actually a good thing. I said this last year too, when we started on this path of every single game is a different lineup. If you've got the guys and it doesn't seem to matter, if you're getting the results and it doesn't seem to matter who you're putting in what position on any given day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're going to go out and you're probably going to win. Then I don't care. Rest people up, put them at different positions, do whatever you got to do. Play a different lineup every single day if you're winning. But if you're playing a different lineup every day and losing like we've been doing up until Saturday, it's like,
yeah,
okay, fluidity is probably part of the problem.
Yeah. Some more consistency, especially with the new lineup that SKC has this year. Like, all of the players that we lost last year to option declined or out of contract, having some more consistency, I think will help us get into a better position, especially going through the spring into the summer timeframe.
Sure.
That will help a lot. But at the same time, we do know that we have players that can play in multiple positions and push them into those positions, depending on the team that we're playing, depending on their tactics. If we're playing with a 5-back defensive line, then there's something different that we have to do.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, even now, this isn't to the back line, I guess. Pretty much everybody that plays on the back line played on Saturday. But if you look at the bench players that weren't used on Saturday, we've got Afrifa and Shui. That is what it is. But you've got Memo, Tem Leibold, and Willie Gata. All three of which I would be perfectly comfortable with starting.
Absolutely.
Or coming off the bench. And we're talking about 3 of our 5 people that weren't used didn't even play in the game.
Yeah.
So we have a potential there for a lineup it's a different lineup all the time. But as long as we're producing, who cares? That could be a benefit then, because we're getting extra rest for players that wouldn't normally get a rest, because we don't have to rely on Eric Tommy to run 97 minutes every single game, because we have other people that can fill.
No, I absolutely agree with that. And that was one, like the last couple of years, towards the end of last year, Peter got a lot better about making subs, not in the last 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think we have a lot more talent in depth across the board with players that can play multiple positions. Yeah, and if we use that to our advantage, again, that the chemistry part of it of, I would love to see Memo having the game of his life with Manu, like at the 8 and the 10, and just feeding Joveljic or Agata day in and day out, but also having the ability to switch with having Tommy in there, whether it's at the wing or at the 10, because Manu's getting tired. There's a lot of ability and a lot of depth that I think that we do have. It's the chemistry. I let me go back on when I said fluidity, I meant there's a chemistry that is being built. And once that gets built midsummer, going back to a couple years ago when we make that, nasty run and actually make the playoffs kind of thing. I can see that happening once the chemistry is there.
Yeah, but the good part about that is that, if we keep on the trajectory we're on right now, I guess, from one game, a couple of years ago, we lost 10 games in a row before we went on that. Yeah. Now we're like, we started this. If this starts now, what you're talking about, we're only 6 games in before we started winning. So if we keep winning at this point, it's like, we lost 5 at the beginning, but who cares? We only lost 3 more after that total. So it's like, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. No, fully agree.
And then I'll eat crow and I'll be like, okay, it was Vermees. That was the problem. But, credit to even what you're saying about the chemistry. That's kind of what I've been saying about this team since the beginning, is like, we signed 7 or 8 new people that were not on our team last year. And we get, within 6 games, we didn't get any results and people were freaking out. They're like, this isn't working. We got to fire the coach. That was kind of the main reason why I was like, we have to let these people learn how to play together.
Yeah.
And
I
again,
agree.
We're preaching to something that doesn't matter because Vermees is out now, so it doesn't matter. But
and with Vermees, leaving the club and whatnot, I mean, he's a sporting legend, period. Mm-hmm. No one can ever take away what he did, not just with the club, but for the club. The rebrand, the opening of CMP. I mean, everything that he has done for the club, the trophies that he's brought in. I, like you, was never a Vermees out guy, but there comes a time where change needs to happen. Look at Philly. Philly was, powerhouse for years, and all of a sudden they're not doing well. They get rid of Curtin and bring in Carnell, and all of a sudden they're back at the top of the list.
Yeah, losing MLS Cups every year again.
Yeah, but
at least they're there, I'd take that at this point.
But they bring in, a new coach, and they're there again. There's a few teams that you can say that were garbage for years, and they bring in even a MLS tenured coach or a coach in general that it brings a different tactic and different mentality to the team, and all of a sudden they start winning. And hell, look at Chicago. How bad have they been for years? Almost a decade that been bad.
Example.
And not that I'm a Berhalter fan, but you bring in a new coach and a new tactic, and with the same players or even new players, and that team does well. There's something about a manager change that just it works.
Trying to see where Chicago is they're in 7th right now in the East, but I mean 7th after 6 games. They're only 4 points out of first place, so
yeah, but
I guess technically they would be tied for 4th. So,
but they're also 11th out of 30 in the Supporter Shield.
Yep, exactly.
So I mean, look at where they were last year. Like they were about to eat that spoon, know.
Yeah, and that can just be like you said. To your credit, a changing coach can do a lot. So, and we got a changing coach and 1 win under our belt immediately. So, will that keep coming on Saturday against Portland? Who knows? There's only one way to find out. Is it Saturday? Do we play Saturday?
No, we play Sunday.
Sunday.
We play Sunday this week.
Off by a day. My bad. Yeah. I guess we'll see if it keeps going. I obviously hope that I'm wrong and that this, firing Peter will keep going. We'll keep winning. I don't mind being wrong if it means the team wins and there's a point to watch again.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad when it's only 6 games into the season and I'm like, I could watch the game or I could just watch the highlights tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Like
no,
we're only 6 games in and I'm like, I don't even really care if I watch it live.
Yeah.
But all right, well let's put a bow on this game, on the St. Louis game. I could talk about this game for another hour, but let's.
Easy.
Yeah, we'll put a bow on it. One other thing I wanted to touch base with you on is another new thing that, of course, happened right after I uploaded an episode last week, because that's what always happens when you record a podcast. For any of you thinking about doing a podcast, you will always record and upload right before stuff happens. So, Tim Melia retiring.
Oh man,
from the game. Very sad. Anybody who has followed our podcast or me in general knows he is my all-time favorite sporting player of all time, passing Jimmy Nielsen, which I didn't think would happen, but it did. So I was sad to see he was retired, but also pretty happy that I don't have to watch him save penalty kicks for any other teams. But I'm curious your thoughts on Melia retiring.
Same sentiment. I would have loved for him to continue his career, but I'm glad he decided to retire at Sporting with it, in KC. I mean, his video, you mentioned that he and his family are, KC has become their home. Outside of Zusi, Melia is my wife's favorite player.
Sure.
And, she loves Timmy. And when his contract wasn't renewed, she was very upset.
Yep.
She basically cried when I sent her the video that Timmy announced his retirement.
Yep.
But again, at least it was with KC. Kind of on that respect, like, Roger hasn't retired from professional football technically, but he's still within the organization. I'm hoping the same one way or the other with Zusi as well, because they're sporting legends. But going back to Timmy, I was happy and glad that the South Stand actually had a bunch of fans kind of give some Timmy tribute. Thank you for his time at Sporting Kansas City. He's always going to be part of the cauldron. He will always have a part of the South Stand, and his name's going to be up on the wall sooner than later.
1,000%. Yeah, I absolutely think he will. whether he had gone and played for somebody else, I still think he would have ended up on our wall.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe unless he had gone and played for somebody and won him like 4 MLS Cups or something, then it might be weird because we'd be like, he didn't even play the best ball here. But
Ilie.
yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, Ilie is a very sad example, but yeah, a good one nevertheless. But yeah, Melia will definitely be on the wall sooner than later. So will Vermees, for that matter.
Oh, absolutely. Vermees is going to have a statue up front.
Yep. I said in the last episode that not only do I think Vermees, after all this recency of people being upset with him wears off, not only will he be considered a Sporting Kansas City legend, but very likely the Sporting Kansas City legend because of his playing career, coaching career, everything he did for the team, for the city, for the organization, for everything. It just
you can't take 4 or 5 mediocre years,
right,
and discount 25 years between playing and coaching and you can't do that to Peter. Like,
right,
dude is a legend. He will always be a legend. And 2 months from now, when the he got fired stuff wears off and whatnot, he's gonna have a statue out front.
1000%. That's why I'll never get rid of my Vermees Army scarf right here. I thought about it the other day. I was like, I guess I should replace it, and I was like, nope, not replacing it. That'll stay. That's gonna stay there forever.
I'll say that's one of the few scarves that I have not found someone that they want to get rid of.
Yeah, that was actually my first scarf, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't really big into scarves, and I didn't even really start following the team until 2016, 17, something like that. Logan and I went, and then we went and sat in the cauldron, immediately hooked, and it's all been, uphill, downhill. I don't know how you want to look at that. It's all been really good from there. So
I'll say 2017 was my first game. I can't remember who we played, but I sat in the Bud Light Landing. Great time. It was like one of Johnny Russell's first games. Instantly fell in love with them. I was like, all right, this is my team, and never changed ever since. Say, good or bad, Sporting till I die.
Yep, exactly. And now I live in Colorado, but I still am Sporting till I die.
Hey, same.
Yeah,
I mean,
right?
I even started a supporter group out here. So
yeah, true. Yeah, true. Awesome. All right, man. Well, you got anything else you want to add to this episode?
Just any SKC fans that are coming out to Colorado for the 4th of July game. Front Range puts on a big old tailgate, and we have prizes. We've given away team signed balls, team signed jerseys, player signed photos. We always put on something. So hit up Front Range Sporting SC on Facebook. Follow some events if you want to. If you're coming out for the 4th of July game. Yeah,
for sure. If you miss any of that and have further questions, hit me up too. We will obviously be there. We're in Colorado. Why wouldn't I go to that? Yeah. Awesome. All right, man. Well, hey, again, I appreciate you joining me. I appreciate your insight. It's nice to talk to somebody else too. So
yeah, thank you for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
We'll definitely get you on again. And for all you guys, I appreciate you all listening. Appreciate you sticking with me and with all these new changes and all the weird stuff. Again, I encourage you to reach out on social media. All of our links are down below in the descriptions, both on Spotify and YouTube. Until next time, be kind. Remember to change your batteries in your smoke detectors, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.